Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well. I wanted to thank you all for the like, the shares, the subscribe. Everything that you do is greatly appreciated, and I am really grateful and thankful for it. And so today, I wanted to touch base on frequency, which is a term for vibration. And so this is something that we don't really dive into the extent of how deep it goes. But I wanted to bring out awareness into it because one, I'm familiar with spiritual warfare, with dark magic, and people manipulating our free will without us knowing because we're operating at that frequency, and even trying to attack us while we're trying to ascend from that frequency, which basically just means like get out of that space. And so we in humanity really don't give the acknowledgement that it needs to energy. Our frequency coincides with the energy that we're operating it. And it's like low energy, low frequency, high energy, high frequency. And when I say high energy, I'm not meaning like you're like just moving around all the time, and I mean you're high vibrational in a sense where you are walking around with your moral compass. Okay? You're not engaging into dark and negative things. You're not operating from your lower chakras, from your lust, from sexual immorality, from addictions, from envy, jealousy, greed, things like that, right? Which we don't really look at. And so when we're operating at a lower frequency, and sometimes that means that, we're operating from our wounds, which can also manifest, anxiety, depression, mental illness per se, right? And so the key to all of that is to heal. In order to raise our frequency, we must first heal, because that's why a lot of us would go into addictions, because we want to, feel happy, feel joyful. But what we're doing is putting a band-aid on it. Even when it comes to psychotropic medications, right? And I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but that's just what we're doing. We're putting a band-aid on it. We're not truly going to the root of the issue and healing that. And once we heal that, we no longer are going to need that medication. We won't need that assistance because we have healed at a deep level, and that will manifest into our physical body as health. And so I wanted to touch base on that because I know for a fact how our free will can be manipulated through us vibrating at a lower frequency, operating at those lower levels, operating from guilt, shame, remorse, fear, denial, hurt, right? And so I know this is not fun. It's not fun, but someone has to say it, right? Somebody has to speak on it. Somebody has to bring awareness about it, and we're not giving it. Even when we're like out here just cursing, yelling, being upset for no reason, gossiping, creating false narratives, slandering people's name, you know, that's a low frequency, and that affects our energetic field, which is around us. Like around us we have an energetic field, which is like a protection layer, and when that energetic field is low, we're susceptible to spiritual attacks. We're susceptible to spirits operating through us without us giving consent to it. We're susceptible to our will being manipulated because everything is energy. I hope that makes sense. So when we are operating at a lower frequency, we are giving up our protection per se from negative, dark forces, spirits that we don't see. That's just how that is. It's the best example I can give you is addictions, because I've gone through it, right? When we're operating through addictions, when we're on drugs and we have addictions, I give you the example of drugs because that's the one I'm familiar with, right? let's say you're drinking a lot of alcohol, right? And you went ahead and you blacked out. You don't remember what you did during that time frame. And then you just wake up and you're like, what happened? But something did happen during that time frame. You just don't remember it. Right? So because you made yourself go through such a lower vibration, you allowed something else to operate through you, and that whatever was operating through you did something that you can't recall. The same thing when that's just like at an extreme level where we can physically see it, because there's something that we can reference it back to. There's the fact that, hey, I don't remember what happened, but something did happen. What was I doing? I was drinking, I was smoking, I was doing whatever. Something that wasn't me was operating through me. Now, we don't say something that wasn't me was operating through me. We say, oh, I blacked out. Oh, I consumed too much alcohol. I consumed too much of this. But when we're doing that, we're allowing ourselves to be used as a portal. Right? So the same thing when we are operating in negativity, in darkness, right? We allow certain spirits to be able to access our vessel. And so there's something called rank in the spirit. So the same thing with the way that we're operating, there's like, you could call it a rank, like lower frequencies, low rank, higher frequencies, high rank, right? So those spirits that are operating at a high rank, right, they can come in and do things where you won't remember, such as when we're like in addictions and stuff like that, right? Or when we get possessed, right? Nobody wants to talk about it, but that's just the reality of it. How many people have heard of like the neighbor that just went crazy and did this and that, and that, we just don't know what happened to this person. They just, lost it or something, right? The same thing with this is like spiritual warfare. These spirits, depending on the ranking, depending on your vibration matches their ranking. And so they're able to come in depending on how open you are to receive them, depending on what frequency you're operating from. And so we are not taught these things. We don't see how our behavior, how we carry ourselves, how we move through life affects us at a deeper level, because we're blinded to it. We are asleep, per se. So in order for us to avoid this, we have to, one, be aware of it, right? And two, do something about it. And by doing something about it, we don't go and like go hunting spirits or go finding people and be like, hey, you're low vibrational, go heal. No, you go ahead and you heal yourself. And so because your energy and you're vibrating at a higher frequency, you will automatically attract people who are vibrating at your frequency. And those people who are not vibrating at your frequency, they'll fall off. The reason being that you have healed. So because you've healed internally, because your mental is healed, then your outer world will bring that in, because the all is mental. I hope this helped. I'll be back later.